Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Livingston. I am the Bitcoin Wizard. So welcome to Bitcoin-backed credit explained, which, let's be honest, is already more honest than anything you've ever heard from Wells Fargo. Because here's the deal, we currently live in a clown world where your credit is based on whether or not Equifax thinks you're a responsible adult. Equifax, the company that literally leaked everyone's social security numbers. That's like hiring Jeffrey Dahmer to run a daycare. Meanwhile, your bank looks at your life and says, you've got a rotting house, a leased Honda Civic, and $48 left in your checking account. Perfect collateral for us to lend against, and the rest of us pretend that's just normal. So here's the truth. The hardest collateral on earth is not your McMansion that smells like moldy drywall and divorce, it's Bitcoin. And when you back credit with Bitcoin, you're not just making finance better, you're nuking 500 years of actuarial grift in one go. So buckle up, kids, because today I will be talking about how fiat collateral is basically a meth addict's IOU, and how Bitcoin credit is about to shove every clown world bond market into the wood chipper. And yes, I'm smiling when I say that because it's beautiful. All right, let's talk about credit first. We got to go over the ground rules of the conversation. Credit is basically this: hey, can I borrow money and promise I'll pay it back later? Which sounds nice until you realize the whole system is just a monopoly board with a lot of violence. Traditionally, credit is backed by collateral. You pledge your house, your car, your income, basically anything that proves you're a functioning human who hasn't completely given up. The bank says, if you don't pay us back, we'll take your house, we'll sell your car, we'll garnish your wages. And you go, great, where do I sign? The problem is that in fiat world, all collateral is dying. Houses rot, cars depreciate, your income is denominated in a currency that loses value faster than your grandma's memory. It's like securing a loan with a gallon of milk. Sure, that has value today, but give it a week and it smells like bankruptcy. Credit, as we know it, is just one giant trust exercise with people who would push you off the ropes course for a nickel. All right, here's where it gets fun. Amazon Prime, everyone in this room pays it. No one questions it. $15 a month. You call it a subscription, but let's be real. It's an insurance premium. Think about it. You're paying Amazon for the promise that when you order a USB charger at 3 o'clock in the morning, in your underwear, they'll eat the cost of flying that $9 item across the country in 2 days. That's not convenience, that is literally a claims payout. You're filing a claim with Jeff Bezos. Only works if Amazon's claims, the free shipping, stay cheaper than your premiums, the $15 a month. And if you've ever ordered a 60-pound bag of dog food to your doorstep for free, you know they're praying that you don't do it again. Because you're not a customer, you are a risk variable in Jeff's actuarial spreadsheet. The whole model is just insurance theater. Trucks, drivers, planes, warehouses, union disputes, all of it is risk. Prime isn't about shipping packages, it's about betting on whether gas prices spike, truckers go on strike, or Bezos can keep workers from unionizing by making them pee in Gatorade bottles. And the crazy part, we're all here for it. We love it. We brag about it. People flex. I've had Prime since 2012, which means you've just been paying the premiums for over a decade. Hopefully it's been worth it for you. But here is the more persuasive angle, I'll say. Amazon is literally mispricing risk the same way that the fiat system does. They pretend that the math will always work, that costs will stay low, that labor will always comply. But in reality, the whole thing is just a fragile house of cards waiting for one oil price spike or one pissed off warehouse worker to blow it up. So the takeaway, Amazon Prime is just a glossy insurance scheme. And like every fiat institution, it survives only as long as the illusion holds. And when you compare it to Bitcoin credit, it looks like a clown show with delivery trucks. All right, so let's take the scam to the big leagues itself, fiat collateral. In fiat world, everything backing your credit is fragile. Houses, they rot, they flood, they catch fire, they get taxed into foreclosure. Cars depreciate the second you drive them off the lot, and let's be honest, half the time you still owe more than the car is worth. Your income is denominated in government paper that loses value faster than an AMC stock chart. The banks call that collateral. I call it future bankruptcy with a bow on it. Fiat credit is risk stacked on top of risk, logistics risk, labor risk, politics risk, interest rate risk. Oh, and also the fun one that's inevitable, currency debasement risk. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on a trampoline, folks. Sure, you can start the building, but eventually the whole thing collapses because the foundation is a joke. The actuarial world will dress this up in spreadsheets and models, but it's all just gambling. They run scenarios on expected losses and probability of default, but let's be real, actuarial science is basically Vegas cosplay. Here's your expected return, here's your expected risk, except in Vegas, at least you get free drinks when you lose money. And the system only works as long as everyone agrees to not look too closely at the rot. The minute energy costs spike or inflation rips through wages or a politician changes the rules mid-game, that so-called safe collateral goes up in smoke. So when people tell you that fiat credit is reliable, persuasive me says reliable for who? The banks? The governments? Sure, but for you, you're the one holding the bag when your collateral turns to dust. That's the fiat risk problem in a nutshell. It's collateral that pretends to be safe while decaying underneath you. And that's exactly why Bitcoin-backed credit isn't just better, it's the replacement, because you don't need to gamble when your collateral doesn't rot. So now let's talk about real collateral, Bitcoin. See, unlike your rotting house, your leased Toyota Corolla, or your salary that's being inflated into monopoly money, Bitcoin is incorruptible. It doesn't rust, it doesn't mold, it doesn't call in sick, it doesn't get divorced, and it doesn't ask for a raise. Bitcoin is the only collateral in human history that does not rot away while you're trying to pay off the loan. So think about it, gold was good for thousands of years until governments figured out how to lock it in vaults, slap IOUs on top, and leverage it into oblivion. Real estate was solid collateral until they started treating a suburban McMansion in Ohio like it was the Ark of the Covenant, levering it 20-1 and blowing up the global economy in 2008. Stocks, they're just a bet on future cash flows. A company misses earnings, your collateral gets nuked. But Bitcoin, you can't dilute it, you can't print more of it, you can't mismanage it into oblivion like some CEO snorting shareholder equity in the form of buybacks. Bitcoin is pure, uncut, mathematically enforced scarcity. It is the first collateral in history that gets harder the more that it's attacked. Every single form of fiat collateral has counterparty risk. Your paycheck is at the mercy of your boss, your government, and Jerome Powell's latest fever dream. But Bitcoin, no counterparty, no middleman, just math and thermodynamics. And unlike gold or property, it's liquid 24/7. You can move it across the world in minutes. That means Bitcoin isn't just better collateral, it's perfect collateral. So, when you ask why Bitcoin-backed credit is revolutionary, the answer is quite simple. It's the first time in history that credit is being secured by something incorruptible. It's collateral that doesn't care about politics, interest rates, or whether truckers go on strike. Bitcoin doesn't unionize, Bitcoin doesn't get repossessed, Bitcoin doesn't rot, it just sits there shining, saying, come and try me. And that's the moment you realize that every single credit market on earth is obsolete. Because once you have perfect collateral, why would you ever lend against anything else? Alright, so how does Bitcoin-backed credit actually work? Let's break it down without the Wall Street jargon. It's shockingly simple. Investor puts up capital, borrower puts up Bitcoin. That Bitcoin is locked as collateral, harder than a chastity belt in the Middle Ages. If the borrower defaults, well, the Bitcoin gets liquidated. There's no lawyers, no foreclosure processes, no repo guy at 3 a.m. showing up to tow your Corolla. Just instant settlement. Now compare that to fiat credit. In fiat land, lending looks like a family Thanksgiving. Messy, unpredictable, and somebody's definitely going to jail. You've got counterparty risk, paperwork, liens, courts, and 10 different layers of middlemen siphoning fees. It's basically a bureaucratic opera where everyone gets paid except for you. Bitcoin-backed credit cuts all of that. There's no warehouses, there's no trucks, there's no actuarial cosplay where some analyst at JP Morgan tries to model out how many people might die in car accidents this year. It's just math secure in the deal, okay? When you back credit with Bitcoin, the yield is secured by the hardest money on earth. Not by someone's decaying house, not by a company promising to hit their quarterly earnings, not by Jeff Bezos praying gas prices don't spike. It's secured by the one asset that has zero counterparty risk, that can't be inflated, seized, or faked. So what do you actually get with Bitcoin credit? You get cleaner, safer, high-yield lending with fewer moving parts and way less clown world nonsense. Lending against fiat collateral is like betting your retirement on a three-legged horse. Lending against coin is like betting on gravity. One is a gamble, the other is physics. So now let's compare Amazon's Prime model, the fiat model, to Bitcoin. Hey, let's hope that fuel stays cheap. Let's hope the truckers don't strike. Let's hope labor unions don't figure out what a contract is. That's the entire business. It's an actuarial seance held over a Ouija board, praying the risk doesn't explode. Bitcoin's model just has none of that. No logistics, there's no labor, there's no warehouses. There's no what if the workers revolt nonsense, so Bitcoin credit literally says, here's the hardest asset ever created, locked down by thermodynamics. If I don't pay, liquidate it instantly. Done. And that is the superiority. One system is built on fragile human institutions that fail constantly, and the other is built on incorruptible math that doesn't care about your feelings. It is the cleanest form of credit ever devised. Bitcoin credit is actuarial genocide. It takes actuarial science, just 500 years of spreadsheets, premiums, and risk modeling, and throws it straight into the fire. That's why it's superior. One is gambling on infinite variables, the other is betting on a digital constant. So the next time someone tells you that treasuries are risk-free, ask them this: what is safer, a government IOU backed by a printing press, or the hardest money on earth backed by the laws of physics? Because once you've seen it this way, everything else looks like clown world collateral cosplay. So right now you might be thinking, hey Adam, cool rant, but is anyone actually doing this? Yes, in fact, Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, is already running the play, and they're doing it with a suite of instruments that make the entire fixed income market look like a retirement home talent show. So here's the lineup. You have Strike, Strife, Stride, and Stretch. It sounds like alphabet soup, yes, but each one is basically a Bitcoin-backed credit weapon. They pay out yields that obliterate traditional bonds and treasuries. So let me put it bluntly, US treasuries are yielding what, 4%? You're lending money to a government that's $37 trillion in debt and prints dollars like it's running a counterfeit operation. That's your risk-free rate. Risk-free? Right. Totally. It's only risk-free if you believe a bankrupt empire is the safest debtor in history. So now if you compare that to Strategy, their credit instruments yield multiples higher, double or triple, and the kicker is that it's collateralized with the largest corporate Bitcoin stack on Earth. So that means instead of backing your loan with decaying fiat promises, you're backing it with incorruptible liquid Bitcoin. Collateral that never defaults, it doesn't debase, it doesn't give you Janet Yellen speeches at 2 a.m. about temporary inflation. So if you want to frame this accurately, you'd say that bonds are low yields, they have high counterparty risk, and the collateral is literally an IOU from a bankrupt government. Strategy's credit is high yield, it's low systemic risk, and the collateral is Bitcoin. So if you're still choosing the bonds, you're basically the guy at the casino betting on the drunk at the craps table while ignoring the guy in the corner printing money with a 3D printer. And this is the truth. Wall Street is going to keep pretending the treasuries are safe because their whole system collapses if people realize they're not. But Strategy doesn't care. They're building an entirely new fixed income market, and the collateral is harder than anything the fiat world has ever touched. So when you see Strike, Strife, Stride, and Stretch, don't see letters. You see the first cracks in the entire bonds market's coffin, and it's beautiful. So here's the bottom line. Every credit market that you know, think mortgages, think bonds, think treasuries, think corporate debt, all of it is about to get eaten alive. Because once you have perfect collateral, you don't go back to clown world collateral. Why would anyone lend against a rotting house in Cleveland? Or a government that's $37 trillion in debt when they can lend against incorruptible Bitcoin? Why would you settle for 3% yield on treasuries when Strategy's instruments play out multiples of that with collateral that does not default? Fiat collateral is obsolete. The moment credit migrates to Bitcoin, the old system isn't just inefficient, it's unnecessary, and technically that moment is already here. You can go buy these instruments now. So let me leave you with this. In the fiat world, credit is hope. Hope the government pays you back. Hope your house doesn't burn down. Hope that labor stays cheap. Hope inflation doesn't nuke your paycheck. In Bitcoin world, credit is no longer hope, it's certainty. collateral so hard, so incorruptible, that the entire financial system looks like a child's lemonade stand in comparison. That's why Bitcoin-backed credit isn't just a new product, it's the endgame. Bet on math, not warehouses. Bet on Bitcoin, not bonds. And if you still think treasuries are safe, good luck explaining that when your grandkids ask why their inheritance is a pile of fiat dust while Bitcoin credit is building the future. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Adam Livingston. I am the Bitcoin Wizard. If you enjoyed this content, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the algorithm spread the orange gospel to the masses. Have a terrific day. Class dismissed.